Welcome to KimAppa. Jarrod and Robbie are here with you. Asia Cup special. What is your favorite memory of the Asia Cup? Have you got any?
No, actually. An under
It's a good
19
tournament.
Asia Cup, if that counts for anything.
I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know. How did you go?
It ha
Get some runs?
yeah, we won the tournament back in 2003, and yeah, I was the man at the final, so
Oh,
it's happy memories.
drops the mic, leaves the
Yeah,
podcast.
can't
Um,
drop mics now,
yeah.
stuck on a table.
um, are you excited for this one? You're doing some commentary. Are you
I
commentating
am.
the first game?
I'm actually heading out there today after we do our pod, and I have to go get ready, do some fittings and all of that. But the Afghanistan Hong Kong match in Abu Dhabi, I'm actually doing that.
Oh, awesome. Well,
So
you could take us through all the Hong Kong players then.
yeah, I think I'll have to, wouldn't I? But did you actually know that in the 5 times I've actually gone head to head, Hong Kong have won twice?
So there was a period of time when Hong Kong was a pretty good side, and they had an interesting coach who I think might be an assistant coach in county cricket now. A guy called Simon Cook who played county cricket. He might actually even
Mm,
be a county coach now. They had the guy who was the general manager. I can't remember his last name, but he was Charlie something. He was from Perth cricket, and he was quite highly thought of. And they had
mm.
this Mark Chapman used to play for them, who obviously went on to play for New Zealand. Um,
That's right.
they had a really good little side, and this is my understanding of what happened, Robbie. There's three cricket grounds in Hong Kong, right? There's
Mm,
Kowloon, there's Hong Kong Cricket Club, and those are both two of the most expensive, I think the two most expensive cricket grounds in the world, right? Because of
mm,
how much the property is worth. And then they have the other one that the government owns out in the middle of nowhere where they lose all the cricket balls because it gets hit into the apartments and no one throws them back, right?
mm,
And they got to a point where I think all the people who lived in Hong Kong, who played cricket in Hong Kong, were complaining that they didn't have access to the nets and the fields as much because the Hong Kong team
mm,
was getting really good. And
mm,
so feels like there was a bit of a pullback. And so they went from what 2016 World Cup and being a decent little outfit to really falling apart. And so this is almost their comeback to
Oh
major
yeah.
cricket. And they beat Nepal, I think, to get into this tournament. Nepal. We could one day you and I need like Paris Kadkar or someone on this podcast to explain to us how Nepal can have that many
That good.
cricketers, be that
Yeah.
obsessed with cricket, and still be ranked
Yeah.
like 18th in the world. Like
Yeah.
it's very weird. But yeah, so Hong Kong they've had a bit of a resurgence again, but hopefully this time it lasts a little bit longer. So I'm not surprised that they have beaten them before. But it's
Yeah.
probably a very different team. I haven't looked at the squad. We'll put the squads up later. But I saw Anchi
Yeah,
Rath
I'll
was in
I'll
there.
read out the squad for you if you want. I have it right
No,
here with me. And
not yet.
no,
Don't go
no.
ahead. Don't go ahead. Settle
Oh,
down.
actually, you don't want me to go ahead. Okay.
Settle down.
I thought
Settle
you'd be
down.
impressed. I've been doing some homework and have all
Yeah.
this information for you right on hand.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But we're going to put the squads up, and I don't think we're going to put the squads on the screen in a little while. But I don't think Rakshit has finished the Hong Kong squad. So we'll get there when he's actually put the graphics up. Um, so I've been having a look at some of the numbers. Obviously, this is for the World Cup, right?
Mm,
India is
mm,
favourite to win the World Cup already, and quite short with the bookmakers. Pakistan
mm,
is equal fifth favourite to win the World Cup with the West Indies. So Australia, South Africa, and England are favourites, more highly backed than Pakistan is at the moment. Uh,
okay.
I think they're at about 12 to 1 to win the World Cup, Pakistan. And the
Okay.
next best Asian side to win the World Cup is, I think it's Sri Lanka and Afghanistan are about 25 to 30 to 1. The disparity, Robbie, between India and the next best Asian side is as massive as ever before, right? Like it's such a
Oh,
big
wow.
difference. So let me explain this graphic to you. So I came up with this in a fever dream the other day, as I
Mm,
often do, where I wanted to look at the run rates per game, per
mm,
year of each side,
mm,
right?
mm,
And then what I did is I looked at the run rates scored and then also the run rates allowed by the bowlers. And that's what this
mm,
is. So it's a bit of a mess. But when we put it up in
mm.
the final video, it'll make a little bit more sense. But you could see it how similar all the Asian teams were for a long
Yeah.
period of time, outside of perhaps Bangladesh, who've struggled, right? The whole way
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
And look at how much India has kicked at the top here. Like that's a
it's gone.
huge movement, right? So
Yeah.
that if you have a look at all the other 4 teams who are, the top rated teams in this tournament, right? They're all around par and just above par when it comes to net run rate. And then you've got India, who are 30 points clear of net run rate. And when you do the stats, it's remarkable how much better India is. So the average in this year in 2025, the strike rate of all the top 10 rated teams in the world is 139, right? There's been no year in T20 cricket when Pakistan has scored at a strike rate of over 139. And there's only been 1 year when Sri Lanka's ever done it. And India is obviously, I think the last 3 years now, maybe even the last 4 years, they've been above that mark. And so they're literally playing a different sport to all the other Asian teams. Because if you look at Afghanistan, they're the red line through here. They're basically a bowling team who has started to struggle a little bit of recent times as they've played more better teams, which is fair.
Yeah.
You've got the dark green one at the bottom is Bangladesh. They've just started to score some runs this year, but unfortunately, at the same time, their bowlers have gone to crap, right? Which is unfortunate. The light blue line is Sri Lanka. So they dominated early T20 cricket, right? Mostly with bowling, not with batting. And they've been in a funk for a long period of time. And you've got sort of Pakistan.
It's not involved there.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got Pakistan kind of in the middle going up and down at various times. They've never been a very good bilateral side, Pakistan, to be fair, but they've been very good at World Cups. And they've started to show some better signs under Mike Hesson just very, very recently. But look how much India's just distanced themselves from all the other sides when they were part of the pack, just before Rahul Dravid, probably?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it'll be interesting to see what the comparison is with the big 3 or big 4, right? Say with Australia, England, South Africa. Where do they actually peg there? Because in the Asian countries, obviously we know that India's head and shoulders above the other countries at the moment. And when you look at those charts, I think it tells you a story about where each individual team is as far as administratively as well, and the team morale in that sense as well, and how cricket's being run, so to speak, at large.
I think that's what this shows more than anything else. I think you're 100% on that. My thought is this isn't really showing that India is suddenly better at cricket. It's actually showing that they're optimizing their side, whereas everyone else is in a complete rut for various different reasons, right? And I think you're right. I think South Africa and Australia and India and England are definitely the fastest scoring teams. This is overall, though. This is including bowling as well. So there is certainly a big difference between those top 4 sides and everyone else. So the West Indies are equal 5th favourites with Pakistan, and I think there's a big drop off between even England, who haven't been playing great limited overs cricket. But I think there's a big drop off between that top 4 sides and then the 5th and 6th and 7th sides, right? So I do think there's an element there. But it does show you that this is generally when you get to an Asian Cup, because India won the last one-day version of this, but Sri Lanka won the last T20 version in 2023.
T20 version of this, yes.
Yeah. And you look at these numbers and you're like, they look like they're different species, man.
Yeah. And then just look at 2023, right? Sri Lanka's graph on 2023 to 2024, right? You saw an uptrend with their cricket as well, because the kind of players that were coming through, and they were backing the kind of players. And even that Asia Cup that happened here in the UAE, you saw they were really well and truly out of it, but then just kind of came back at the back end and just kind of squeezed through to the finals, and then kind of dominated the finals, right? So you thought that, okay, we hope that this is the upswing of Sri Lankan cricket, but then alas, that didn't last too long, and then you can see that graph coming back down again as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that their biggest problem is they probably don't have a terrible bowling attack, but I don't know how many games in a row they've ever had all their best bowlers fit. Patharana I don't think he's even played much for Sri Lanka so far, right? And and some of their other bowlers, it's been the same. I forget their left arm quick, who I thought was going to be quite interesting. He's sort of disappeared, and Hasaranga's form goes up and down. So it's like Tikshata on his own at times, and you're like, they actually, if you look at their best 6 or 7 bowlers, it's not a bad bowling attack at all. It's really interesting. It's got multiple different options, but Chamira We see him
Yeah.
play one good game and 5 bad games. So it's really interesting. But I just want to show the difference because I don't know if we've ever, if I mean, well, look at these numbers. This is purely T20 cricket, but I just don't think we've ever seen this separation before, right? And it's India are on the same curve as the good teams. So it's not as if India are just brilliant on their own, although
Yeah.
they are a brilliant side. But it's also just the other teams aren't on any kind of curve at all. Like even if you look at this, they're up and down, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a bit of a mess, all things considered. But we can take that down anyway. And
Yeah.
and
And do we have a graph where we have the same thing against, say, the top teams in the world with, say, Australia, England, South Africa, New Zealand?
I do,
Just a peg.
but I don't
Come
have
on,
it.
then throw it on.
But I don't have it available to put on.
Come on.
I think if how fancy do you think I can be? Like just while we're on air and we're
You can
talking?
be
But yeah,
like,
I had
like,
it.
you know, I like
had it.
fancy Kimber.
Yeah. So what I have here, I'm trying to think of what we can share that will make sense. And like now, this is when Rakshit's like, you guys are trying to do too much. Educating me here. But let's see if I can bring this up. So this is, if I can add this to stage. Rakshit, if you could take that photo down.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
can I-
can take that down, buddy. And then
And I can take this up. Oh. Here we go. This is just the Cricket Info page of the runs per year, right?
yeah, it's too small. Zoom it up.
Right.
Awesome.
So that's 2025 is now the fastest scoring year on record in. These are the major T20 teams, right? As I said, top 10 ranked teams in the world. And you can actually see that 2024 was only down at 132, but all of these years are above 130. And I think Bangladesh, just to show how much different it is for some of these Asian teams. I'm not sure if Bangladesh have ever had a year scoring over 130.
130.
Right. So it's very, there's a big difference between all of those sorts of things. But can I do this live on air is the question here. If we pick the last, let's go last 3 years. Can I do this live on air? The answer is no. And I do it
You
by
Just take your
team.
time. No pressure.
No, there's lots of pressure. See, on
For
my
what?
proper computer. All right.
Who are we trying to impress?
I'm trying to impress the world. All right. Let me zoom in on this. All right. You can see that?
Yeah.
Right. So Australia in the last 3 years has a strike rate of 151.89, which is remarkable. India is at 147.35. You've got England at 142, West Indies at 140, and then South Africa at 134. Pakistan, 127. Sri Lanka, 125. Bangladesh, 120. And Afghanistan, 115. New Zealand, 131 as well. So you could see that there is haves and have-nots when it comes to batting. And even the West Indies, who are struggling in some ways, so their average in that period is 23, so a little bit lower. They're still whacking it everywhere, right? The other thing I like about this, though, Robbie, is the hundreds. India has scored 14 hundreds. Right? Look at the rest of the Asian sides. They've got what?
I love
seven
how
between them?
I actually love the stories that they actually say, you know. It tells you a lot without saying much.
It's incredible, man. It really is. And you can see also so they've had, India's played 68 games and Bangladesh has played 64 games, right? And India scored 577 sixes and Bangladesh has scored 331. So you're literally talking about double the amount of sixes, right? Like maybe double's pushing it, but I'm going to call that close enough to double. That's emotionally double the amount of sixes, right? And so they are, and this is obviously just batting that we're talking about here, and everything else. But you get what I'm trying to say is the difference between these two teams at the moment is absolutely. Not these two teams, sorry, India and everyone else in Asia is so incredible. Like, I just don't think we've ever seen anything of that kind of level before coming into a tournament like this, right? And, you look at the Indian team and I don't know how you feel, but it's really hard to find a way that they don't win this tournament unless something incredible happens in one of the knockout games, because they should be cruise through to knockouts, and it would have to be some sort of, let's call it New Zealand in a test series type event for them to lose this. Now, T20 cricket is a bit more random. So it's not like we give them the trophy now, and tournament play is a bit different. As we've seen India dominate in bilaterals before and not dominate in tournaments, but it just feels now that the gap is so big that even if India is playing average cricket, they're ahead of everyone else.
So the thing about T20 cricket is that it turns up, I think it depends on how each team turns up, to be very honest, and the kind of momentum they have going in from one game to the next, and the confidence that they have within themselves as a group, as individual players going in from one game to the next. And conditions also play a part. And right now in the UAE, we're in the back end of the summer, so it is really hot still, but it is beginning to cool off, right? September 21st is the equinox, so from then on it's going to cool off considerably. So,
You're
right
always talking to me about the equinox, and I'm not even sure I know what it means.
It's quite real in these places, to be very honest.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you see the difference from one day to the next, and so for me, I think those conditions also play a big part in a tournament like this. The energy levels that each individual kind of has going into a game, because that has an impact, right? And can you get back-to-back solid performances when the weather's good versus when the conditions are like this? It's gonna vary,
What's the temperature in Dubai today? Do you know?
I'll tell you right now. Just give me a second.
I can tell you if you want. I've got it in front of me, but I just wondered if you.
Mr. Know-it-all, go for it. Tell me.
Well, according to my map, it's 41 degrees in Dubai today.
Yeah.
And it's going to be.
If it's 41, if it's 41 on officially, it should be about 40. Like if it's 41 on a publication, it should be about 45.
Yeah. So it's 41, 39, 39, 38, 38, 38, 37, 37. So it is starting to. I mean, I don't know if 37 degrees is cooling down, but
it is compared to 51, 52.
Exactly.
It is cooling down.
And the minimum temperature is going to be 31 degrees on pretty much all of those days. And so it'll be a little bit cooler at night as well, in the afternoon when they're playing in some of these games and everything else. But it's going to be really, really hot. And I don't think that's going to, just to talk about the India side again for a minute before we move to all the other sides as well. I don't think there's anything in that should bother the Indian side any more than it bothers anyone else. But it does mean that you could get caught in a very hot early innings and get exhausted, perhaps. There is that could happen to any team in this tournament.
Yeah, but then also these games are a little spaced out, Jarrod. I think owing to the conditions, I think the games are not really back to back. I think there's at least a day or so of recovery before each team plays their game. So a huge focus of the support staff will be on how each team kind of recovers after every game, and I think that it depends on. I think when you look at ability wise, I think India in that sense in the Asia Cup is perhaps the most sorted outside. Again, it's got its share of confusion with who's going to open. Is Sanju going to open? Is Shubman going to open? And where are things moving in that sense? But for the most part, I think you look at the other sides, I think they're still kind of in process teams, right? I think Pakistan are in process. Sri Lanka are in process. Bangladesh have always kind of been in process, and I think they haven't really settled down with one thing, and they haven't really made up their mind about giving people extended runs and helping them kind of develop their games at the highest level. And you have to understand when you're a team like Bangladesh and you're a team like Sri Lanka, when those big players go up, the inflow of big players coming in, you need to give them time to develop into big players. If you see that stat that you pulled up about how teams have done between 22 and 25, the churn of players from each team, right? That tells you a huge story. Like Australia have had 38 players, and their strike rate of 151. A lot of it has to do, I think, with the likes of because of the likes of Mitch Marsh at the top, Mitchell Stark at the top with the ball as well, right? So I think you need time to develop these players, and I think that is something that teams like Australia, New Zealand, owing to the fact that they're a smaller country as far as volume of cricketers are concerned, I think they do really well. They give extended runs to players, right? And I don't think Bangladesh, Sri Lanka kind of do that. You need to give extended runs to players.
It's funny, because that was basically what McCullum does when he comes into England, right? He just says, these are the players I think are talented, and I'm going to give them a run.
Yeah.
And we're still in the middle of
Yeah.
we don't know if Ollie Pope and Zach Crawley is going to work, right? And we've
Yeah.
seen that with some of the
Yeah.
limited overs players he's picked as well. But
Yeah.
that's the way that he looked at it because that's what New Zealand did, and New Zealand
Yeah.
are forced to do it more than anyone else. And so because they have such a small thing, whereas Sri Lanka is a perfect example of a team going everywhere. I think that Sri Lanka, if you look at guys like Kimber Mendes and Walalage and Patharana, are probably the World Cup and the Asia Cup have just come too early in their development. Like Walalage is not a regular player yet. Kimber Mendes, I don't think has made many runs in T20, and Patharana is still trying to work out his action as much as anything else since he's had his issues. And I think Pakistan's the same. I think they've moved on from Bubba and Rizwan, and they're now putting together a core that makes a little bit more sense than what they were doing before. But again, it's just coming too soon. So it's not as if I don't. And Bangladesh has suddenly started actually scoring some runs. Some of those were against the Netherlands, but if you watch them play now, they look like a T20 side. And I don't know if there's any time I've ever watched Bangladesh where they've looked like a T20 side before, right? Like some of these teams are in development in the right direction. And Afghanistan obviously is going through a bit of a change as well. But some of these teams are going in the right direction. It's just that they're not quite ready yet. Whereas India is flying to a point where Shreyas Iyer is not in the side, right? Like, there are very talented players not in this side, right? That would be in many other sides. So it's a completely different world than India's like, having fun with one or two different selection issues, as you said, whereas some of these other teams are like, what's our core? Like, what style are we going to play? Like, in Bangladesh, it really is as much as anything. It's funny, I talked to a player the other day, played in the BPL, and he said, do you know what? I wasn't sitting there playing going, there's no talent here. He goes, the structure's not very good and the league has some issues. And, he was going through some of the other things. He's like, but I felt like there was talent everywhere. It's just that no one's developing it into T20 players.
Yeah, like even Sri Lanka for that matter, right? There's the likes of the Patan Nisanka. There's the likes of a Navishka Fernando, who are really good, I think, really solid players, but they haven't really gotten that time to develop them, and then they've had their share of injuries. Like if you look at Pakistan, that Saim Ayub, I think, is an incredibly talented young guy, but hasn't got a long enough run for his talent to kind of come through. And I think every kind of team has gone through that struggle where they've been impatient and they're constantly comparing themselves to a team like India, who's also from the subcontinent, right? The metrics are different, so the approach of how you develop these players should be different, right?
No, exactly.
And I don't think that's been kind of followed with these the other countries. Like if I think we were in charge of Sri Lankan cricket, we would have given the likes of a Avishka Fernando a year and a half just of international exposure. Just go play as much as you can, Go and play leagues, come back, learn, come back. Let's discuss your learnings. Let's apply those learnings into every game that you're playing at, and the same thing with Bangladesh, or the same thing with the young Saim Ayub. Like the first time I saw his talent, I think was about 2 or 3 years ago in the CPL. And I'm like, man, if Pakistan don't capitalize on a player like this, just on sheer talent, they'd be missing out on a generational player. And for the next 2 years, they opened with Rizwan and with Babar.
Yeah. I've
like,
got a great Sri Lanka story just to tell you how weird all this is before we go through some of the squads, which is when we toured in 2018, 2019 with TalkSport, right? So we were over there and Gareth Batty was there, Darren Gough was there, Matt Pryor was there, I was there. All four of us at different times were asked about our interest in working with the Sri Lankan team, right? And you're like, so what have they done? Are they just waiting for commentators to turn up and just ask them if they want to be involved in the side? Like, that's not a professional system, right? Like, if Matt Pryor wasn't there and, I don't know, Alex Stewart was there, would he have been offered the gig? Do you know what I mean? Like, Stephen Finn was there, would he have been offered the gig? It just shows you how different that is to how some of these other sides are, the top end sides that's not how they do things like that. So anyway, Afghanistan, Hong Kong first game. Robbie is obviously the expert on both of these sides, and he will take us through. Have you got any stats about Gurbaz's recent form at all?
Gurbaz's recent form, he needs... His recent form has been quite patchy, hasn't it? He's been a little hot and cold. He either comes off really big or he's been failing quite badly and consistently in the recent past. And I think as far as stats are concerned, Do you want some really upcoming, like really funny upcoming milestones for Gurbaz? He needs 2 sixes to reach 100 sixes in T20I cricket.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That's a
and then
proper commentator stat. That one. Someone's looking at his stats board. How about I give you this? I think he's always been a bit hot and cold, but since 2024, this is just in internationals. He scored in 26 games. He scored 617 runs, an average of 24, and a strike rate of 124. So it's not as if he's still striking quickly and not staying in for very long, and it's not as if he's staying in for all that long. And do you remember? Was it at KKR he replaced Phil Salt at the top of the order? And I remember a lot of people going, there's not a big drop off between those two. The difference between Phil Salt and Gurbaz at the moment is massive, right? It's just Gurbaz just hasn't come on as a player like I think we all expected him to. I wonder if I don't want to say this too loud, but I wonder if teams have just kind of worked out how to bowl to him a little bit more, and so he's now got to go through that phase of working out what is going to work for him in the future.
I actually think for players like Gurbaz and Phil Salt, I think it's genuinely how confident they feel about their own game. I don't think there's really like technically or strategically a lot stopping them, because the minute they start dominating, they have to make a mistake before you get them out. Right? It feels like nothing can get them out unless they get themselves out or they play a rash shot or they're not thinking in the moment, right? And I think Gurbaz is one of those guys, and often happens with these big players where they were match winners, so to speak, where if their confidence is not high, then like they don't tend to come off and they start second guessing themselves. And the minute they start second guessing themselves, it's a quick spiral, slippery spiral downwards, right? For me, an example of that is perhaps Jason Roy. Jason Roy, I think, is an incredible player, right? But I think his confidence is short, and he perhaps sometimes, doesn't believe in his game as much as there actually is within that game of his. And because of that, you see him being very hot and cold. And sometimes also the way he's treated as a player, for whatever reasons, I don't know the intricacies of all of this stuff, but that has an impact on the way they approach an innings. They start operating, even though they shouldn't be operating from insecurity, they start operating from insecurity, and they start operating on survival mode all the time. And you don't want match winners to operate on survival mode. Then you're taking away their superpower, right? And you need captains to recognize this and say, okay, listen, I'm giving you a run. Just go, have fun. Bat. Yeah. 7 matches, 10 matches. Just go and have fun. Like, I want you to try and win matches for me. I don't want you to worry about being a part of the 11 or not. You're going to be a part of the 11 for the next 10 games. Go out there and win me as many matches as possible. What can you do? Focus on succeeding. Focus on winning games. And I think these are things that captains must recognize. And I think a lot of good captains and good teams actually recognize this stuff about players.
Do you think there is, and we'd have to have a look at his overall stats, but do you think with Gurbaz, the new style of the team is to get pass scores, right? We showed it before. Their strike rate's not very high, right? And under Jonathan Trott, it's been, we're a bowling team, we get pass scores, and then our bowlers defend it, right?
Yeah.
Gurbaz doesn't really fit the modern Afghanistan style of batting as much, does he?
No, he doesn't. No, he's the complete opposite, in fact. Right? There are other guys that I can think of like that. Zazai is another cricketer who's at the top of the order, is just flashbang, right? He either comes off or he doesn't. Gurbaz is like that, but he's a little bit more dependable than a Zazai. And they both bat at the top of the order. You also have guys like Ibrahim Zadran, who's a lot more steady, right?
Well, he's a Jonathan Trott style player, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Right? And
Omar Zai is also again like that. Takes his time, gets in. Nabi also is like that. Karim Jannat is also like that. Karim Jannat I think he's a high quality all rounder, but again doesn't really thrive at the international stage, or we don't see him living up to his potential as far as skills are concerned. Now, how do you get these guys to thrive? Gulbadi Naib is solid. There's this guy, right? He's solid and he plays really well. But again, his role is more of a finisher's role along with Nabi. Nabi is 41, 42 right now. Again, reminds me of Misbah, solid, dependable player, but won't come off all the time. But you can always lean back on him and hope that he'll come off. Rashid has a style of playing. But again, all these guys are in the middle to the lower middle order. At the
Yeah.
top of the order, you really need guys who you can depend on to get you off to a solid start. And I think genuinely Gurbaz is one of those guys. But you need to give him the freedom to fail as well. Because when he's got the freedom to fail and feel secure about his spot, when he does turn up, it'll be game changing for you. It'll be tournament shifting for you.
When they were good in the last T20 World Cup, it really was almost the openers and the bowlers, right?
Yeah.
Who did
Yeah.
like some of the middle order, even though you're talking about the talent in the middle order, it just didn't quite work for them at that time. And Omazai is really interesting. We've seen him do this in the IPL. I've seen him do it for Afghanistan and even some other leagues where they quite often teams will send him in to hit straight away. And he doesn't even look like he has the tools to hit straight away. And he ends up slogging rather than hitting correctly. Yeah. I think the fact that Gulbadin's still in this side or in this squad still shows you that they're just not quite at the level to be legitimate title contenders in any side, because someone like they should have outgrown Gulbadin by this stage as a player. And the fact that they still need him, like Gulbadin he's a force of nature. We all love him. The best fake hamstrings in the business, right? But when it comes down to it, like he's an associate kind of all-rounder rather than, a top-level international player. And so, there's some issues there. Rakshit, if you're there, is the next slide Afghan. Who were they playing? Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Oh, I could do this. Look at this. I say that. Okay, so Hong Kong side, there's some good quality players in here. I'll go through some of the players that I'm aware of. Some of these guys have been around for quite a while now.
Quite a while.
Anshi Rath it was their star batter, probably more suited to longer form cricket than he is T20. Tried to play for Middlesex and qualify over in the UK, but unfortunately there was some sort of issue there. Nizakat Khan, I remember him making 100 against the Sydney Thunder in a warm-up game, right? And I remember everyone from Sydney Thunder saying to me, "This guy's incredible," and he's so still at the crease and he's all hands. He would just move his hands through it. Baba Hayat has been their star batter for quite some time.
For a while.
Yeah, bowling. I don't know as much about their.
So has
bowling.
Zishan Ali, hasn't he?
Zishan Ali's been around for a little while, I think.
It's been a while, for a while.
But yeah, I don't know as much about their bowling. Do you have any notes on their bowling?
No, not really. As in, so these are guys, like I played against a few of these guys in the Hong Kong Sixes last year. And,
of course.
Yeah, and decent bowlers, again, predominantly Indian and Pakistan origin players. And I think there's some, like I think Martin Kodzia is perhaps, I don't know, South African or Kiwi.
If he's not South African with that name, I mean, someone in his family is South African with that name, right?
Yeah,
that's
sure. Yeah,
that's the most South African name I've ever seen. Yeah, they used to have a lot of Australian and Kiwis go through, but it seems that the team is become a little bit more Asian of recent times. But that might just be the talent pool, right? Like there aren't a lot of cricketers in Hong Kong, right? So who did you play against in the Sixers, and who sort of impressed you in that?
I don't know, man. I've played so much of these different leagues in the world. I don't really remember the bowlers in this. So the batters are what stand out to me: Babar Hayat, Zishan Ali, Nia Khan, Anshuman Rath was pretty good as well last year. Like, obviously small grounds and smashing the ball, and we were barely bowlers back then. All batters trying to bowl and survive. But I think the fast bowlers, I think, were quite good. I think that Ehsan Khan was decent.
He's been around for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and all of these guys, the guys who are more experienced are a lot more confident about their skills, and they feel like if they, and this happens a lot. Like we discuss this a lot. So even if they know, if they people who will get taken to the cleaners, they know how to save themselves. They know how to save the economy rates, right? And that itself is a survival skill. And it tells you a story about how these people kind of operate. Like, they know how to make like a really bad day into an okay day, or just a bad day. It's not a terrible day. So if it goes to the edge of, if it goes towards being bad, then they know how to hold back and just survive that day. So a lot of these cricketers, a lot of these bowlers especially, are guys who are more of a defensive mindset and not an aggressive mindset bowler. So they they're not looking at taking wickets as much as they're trying to save their economy as much as possible.
No, definitely. So just on that batters, this is last, where are we? Yeah, last couple of years. So Bubba Hyatt has averaged 30, a strike rate of 136. And then you've got Anchi Rath, Nia Khan, those guys that, actually, sorry, Anchi Rath has similar figures. Khan has gone at 24 average, 121 strike rate. But Zishan Ali is 31 with 147 strike rate. So there's something there. Kotsia, by the way, played for Gauteng. So we were right. He is South African and
South
also
African.
the most South African name. But this is a very experienced, like, I know to a lot of fans, they're going to be looking at this going, we don't know who these players are. But these guys are not like, Ishan Khan must be 40, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think
close to 40, yeah.
I remember I went to Hong Kong to report on games in 2016, 2017, and I reckon he was a veteran then. So that's almost a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
He's got 78 wickets in the last couple of years, an incredible record there. Yazim Murtaza, I don't know much about, but he's got a very good record as well. And I think, is it Anas Khan is the other guy that someone told me to look out for, who's the left arm finger spinner who's been hard to hit in some of those leagues. But I'm not surprised this team beat someone like Nepal, only from the perspective of, this is a very, very experienced, weathered team. So even though we haven't been watching them for the last couple of years because they've dropped off from the top level, it's the same guys who know their cricket and have traveled around the world. And, you know, Bubba Hyatt was probably a low-level franchise type of talent. Niaz obviously was. As I said, Anchi could have played county cricket. These are not like guys from nowhere. So it'll be interesting. But you would expect Afghanistan to be able to get past in this game, right?
100%. They haven't played each other since 2020. They've played each other 5 times, where Afghanistan have won 3, Hong Kong have won 2. But the last time Hong Kong beat Afghanistan was in 2015. July 2015 and November 2015 are the 2 times, and once in Dublin and once in Abu Dhabi. So you have to understand that when the gap between associate nations and international, like premium international teams, the top 10, 15 teams in the international cricket, there's a huge gap between the two. But amongst associate nations, so when a Hong Kong goes up against, say a Nepal, the competition's intense and the games are pretty intense. And the conviction to win, they're not operating on survival mode anymore. They're like, we want to boss this realm here. Right. So the other realm, even if we enter the other realm, we might be minnows, but at this realm, we want to dominate. So those games get really, really competitive. Right. Nepal, in that sense, is such a solid side that they give UAE a run for their money. They've beaten UAE a bunch of times. Right. And UAE has 8 cricket playing nationalities in its diaspora. You know, and Nepal is like one little country at the northeast, like at the northeast of India, and they figure out a way to beat a country that has 8 or 9 cricket playing nationalities. So the competition at the associate level is like intense, but when they come to the top level, then they're definitely minnows. So this one, I think they'll give themselves a little bit of an edge. They'll always talk about, oh, we beat them in 2015. A lot of the players, some of the players who have actually been there as well in 2015 from Hong Kong. So Eshan will definitely be talking about that before the game.
Yeah. If he can remember it, because he's so old. But okay, so the next game in this tournament is UAE versus India. I don't know much about. I mean, I know little bits about the modern UAE side, but when I was, I don't know if I've ever told you a story, but like when I was the analyst for Scotland, we turned up for a warm-up game before the qualifiers to play UAE, and I've got all my notes and everything ready, and I'm telling everyone what to do. And we turn up, and there's like 5 guys playing in the side who weren't even listed in my squad. And I was like, what's happened? And it was the tournament where 5 players left the UAE for various reasons. But there's a great book by Paul Radley. A lot of it was about match fixing and allegations and all these sorts of things. But essentially, they lost a third of their squad at that stage. And they've just started over the last, 18 months or so to rebuild from that. Because, they lost so much talent. They lost so much wisdom. And also, I think they didn't get the same kind of funding for a little while because the UAE was like, well, you guys are all disappearing. We're not going to back you. So it was a really big issue, but they're just starting to come back. Because you're in the UAE, do you have any sort of a knowledge about this
Insight?
squad, or have you been following them or training any of them? Who are you coaching in the
No.
squad, Robbie?
Nobody, because I think they've changed so many hands. Have the administration and the coaches and all of that? They've
Yep.
gone from one hand to the other to the other to the other. I think right now over the last 6 months, Lalchand Rajput or 6-8 months, Lalchand Rajput has been in charge of this team, and they've conducted a few tournaments. And you were saying about how these guys were not backing the players. The whole fact that it was genuinely a sorry state of affairs with the way these players were being treated, right? That they couldn't, like, if they couldn't make this their number one priority, right? I think the highest paid contract for a player maybe couple of years ago when I first came in here and was just researching, what the cricket is like here and how do they pay their players and all of that. The highest contract was 25,000 dirhams a year, right? An annual cricket contract. So there's no way this could have been their number one gig. They've had to always kind of do a job on the side, but also the time investment to play these games. So they'll finish their job, come in the evening, play matches, and then in the summers they play midnight matches, but they still have to go back to work
Yeah.
in the morning. So it's really, really hard to be a professional cricketer in UAE, and the administration does almost very little for the players to make them feel secure that, okay, this is something that we can do long term. It's just sustainable based on just on maintaining a life here and providing for myself and for my family. 25,000 dirhams is maybe 5,000, 6,000 pounds a year contract.
I think the ILT20 has changed things a little bit over there. My guess is
A
that
little
now,
bit.
yeah,
A little bit, not too much, to be honest.
because there aren't
There
many
is
local players in that, but the local players who are in that are more. That's probably given them an extra boost in their salaries to be low. They're still very low paid professional cricketers, but they're getting towards being professional cricketers rather than before where they probably weren't.
some of these guys are really good cricketers, like Mohammad Wasim for that matter. Really
Mohammad
solid
Wasim's
cricketer.
really good.
He is really, really good, and I genuinely believe there are 8 or 9 more like him. It's just that you don't develop that talent, and like there's a lot of youth talent coming up through the ranks, some of whom I've interacted with, worked with a little bit, but there is no system here that takes them that ladder system that takes them into that realm of making this a professional choice or a career choice, right? You have a lot of people from different parts of different parts of the world who live here, but they are all people who are willing to go back to their home country and try and make a career out of the sport that they love. But to make it a career here in UAE, cricket right now is just not an option because administratively there are too many gaps and players aren't focused upon, like
It will be
securing
interesting.
players.
It will be interesting what happens because you and I both know that there are a lot of cricketers moving to the UAE at the moment,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
in the next 3 or 4 years, there might be 40 to 50 top level T20 franchise players in the UAE. If the UAE government suddenly went, well, wait a minute, these guys could qualify to play for our national team now. You could have something like what we saw with Italy, where suddenly you're like, no, there's players here. Let's do this. Let's back these guys. But yeah, Mohammad Wasim is definitely their star at the moment. I think he's got a strike rate of 160 for them over the last couple of years. He's played in what, the Sri Lankan Premier League, IL,
ILT20,
PSL.
yeah, and does very, very well in franchise cricket. And to be very honest, I've always said this about UAE cricket. I have no idea with the quality of cricketers that they have how they are not in the top 12 cricket playing nations in the world when they have players from so many different nationalities. Like this should be like, to be honest, over a period of time it can be a World Cup winning contending team. Like it can be that solid because that is the quality of talent that exists there. I'm telling you, whilst being here, living here, the
And the,
quality of talent that
and
exists here are incredible. Obviously, there's politics,
I was
Indian
going to say,
politics,
but
Pakistan
there's also
politics.
facilities, right? Like the
Yeah,
facilities are there. So I remember watching all the kids. Well, not even some of them were kids. Some of them were about 40. But the net bowlers, right? So if you, especially when you've got a major tournament on, all those guys just make sure that they're not working when the nets are there, so they can come down, so they can be seen by international coaches, and they get like the ability to be. I was like a kid in a candy shop because my job was to pick the bowlers who were best going to suit who we were going up against, right? and they had every skill that you needed. These guys.
Yeah,
I was
they do.
like, and the
They do.
hardest thing, Robbie, was literally getting them. Like there was one guy I was like, I need you to bowl a back of the hand slow ball every third delivery, and he's like,
Yeah.
in swinging Yorker, and I was like, bouncer, off cutter, and I had to go up to him and go, you're in the nets to bowl the back of the hand slow ball. He's like, yep, got it. In swinging Yorker. I'm like, stop bowling everything else. We need to practice the back of the hand slow ball. But that's how talented this guy was, who I don't think he ever played for the national team, right? And like,
No.
and
that's
when
the
you
thing,
see
right?
that, that's when you realize that, and you and I know this in Asia as well. I remember years ago being in Gaul and watching a guy on the beach bowl and bat and just be like, this guy should be in a franchise somewhere. Like his talent is off the charts, and yet probably never was even a professional cricketer.
Yeah, and that happens all the time. And the thing about UAE is that there is no structure in place to nurture talent at a younger age. I'd say the underage cricket levels, say under 14, 16, 19s. There's no structure where people know that okay, if they follow this structured system, then they get to the pinnacle of their national cricket, right? They get into that space, and then it becomes a viable career option for them. That doesn't exist at the moment, and I don't think that time's far away where countries will start pivoting. Although UAE has not been a country that has predominantly focused on cricket as one of their like genuinely top sports. It's been more equestrian. Football's huge. Equestrian, falcon racing, which is a huge cultural sport here.
Sorry now. Just go back to
Yeah,
that last one.
falcon racing.
Okay. I
Yeah,
assume the Falcons beat the humans in that
yeah.
race.
No. So basically, it's Falcons against Falcons, and it's a whole tournament, which is a huge cultural thing here, which is massive.
Yeah.
Horse racing is huge as well. They love their horses here. I can tell you that much. And now paddle's becoming big. And I genuinely believe mainstream sport, once it becomes more Olympic, if it becomes an Olympic, medal winning opportunity for this country, then they will draw their resources behind this. They'll put their resources behind this. Right now, as an associate nation, they get about $2 million a year, and they have to run the administration with that, and the players get a pool of that. So, but I genuinely believe they can still do a lot more with it. There's also a lot of politics, Indian politics, Pakistan politics, and then where does it all fit into all of this? And then, so that's a big part of it.
No, I mean, and you're seeing that more and more in, USA cricket obviously kicked out the MLC recently and having all those issues. And like some of these boards, if they would just run to make cricket good, they would have better sides, right? Like, and they're certainly talented. They've got a young spinner who I don't know if you've come across, a young left arm finger spinner who I think is about 18 or 19 called, is it Ayan Khan? Wait, is he in the squad here? Where is he? I'm not sure if he's playing.
No, Sharfu's always been
I don't
there.
think they picked him for this squad, but he's played, I think he played in the Canadian League or something, and I saw him play. And you see guys like that who are not even particularly close to the national team at the moment, and you're like, there's some talent coming through. And, they've still got people like Junaid Siddiqui who could play and everything else. So they go up against, who did we say they're playing? India. Do we need to go through the India team? Does everyone not have it tattooed on their arm at this point? Actually, we'll come back to the Indian team at the end here. So Bangladesh play against Hong Kong. So we've already gone through the Hong Kong side. Bangladesh side is starting to put together a bowling attack that makes a bit more sense of recent times. They've got Jaker Ali, who I'm putting my mast on Jaker Ali. I'm all in. Not sure he's a T20 player, but Pervaz Hassan, I don't know if you've seen much of him. He's the first Bangladeshi player ever to score 400 runs for Bangladesh with a strike rate of over 135, or maybe even 130. I can't remember the exact number. They are starting to play T20 cricket. Lytton Das is, up and down as a player, we all know. I don't think this tournament they're going to do anything particularly special, but I also don't think they're the easy beat T20 side that we've seen Bangladesh be for a long period.
Their bowling has gotten really good over the last couple of years, especially their fast bowling. I love Taskin Ahmed's comeback that he's made. Shoriful Islam
Nahid Rana's not even in this squad. They didn't need to pick him, right? I think that shows you that they have so many options now.
They do, and I think to win tournaments, to win matches, you need a solid bowling side, because that gives you the best chance to win tournaments, right? But I think their batting is going to be left wanting for a bit till they gain a little bit more experience. So how long they sustain these players and give them a long run, and so that their confidence about performing at the highest stages grow. I think their bowling will also mature over a period of time if they can stay put with teams like this. I remember saying this about Sri Lankan cricket in 2019. I said, if they can give these guys, the same team that's there, if they can give these guys a good run for the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years, then you will see this team delivering results. And I feel the same about the Bangladesh side. Like, have faith in the players you have picked. You don't have a large pool of players to keep swapping them around. And if you do that, you're making everybody feel insecure. And over a period of time, if the whole pool feels insecure, you're not going to move anywhere. You're just going to stagnate, and that's going to become it's going to become an absolute shit show for any country, right? I think the approach with smaller countries with lesser number of volume of cricketers coming through the ranks, you need to approach it very, very differently. And I think Australia's one Australia and New Zealand are good sides. England, even now after Mr. Baz McCullum, are approaching it the right way.
No, I think I think that's a fair one. They've got some talent in here as well. They've also, with the two spinners, Mahdi Hassan and Rishad Hussain, they've got a nice sort of mix there. Obviously, Mustafiza is not.
Now, which
Mustafiza
Mehdi is
before.
this right now? The Mehdi Hassan. There are two of them, aren't they? And there's one who
There
can
are
actually bat.
There are too many Mahdi Hassans, is the answer there. You have no idea. We put a video out this week, and because we have advanced stats and we have to pull all this information off things, you have no idea how often you end up in a situation where like the players accidentally get grouped together. And so we had two Rashid Khans in our stats last week, right? Where they grouped you. Don't get me started on Imran Khans, by the way. Try and do some advanced stats on Imran Khan, and there's about 9 Imran Khans out there. But this is the all-roundery one, isn't it? That they have picked here, mate.
I hope so. This is the off spinner, right? They're both,
well, they're both off
the
spinners,
thing is,
aren't they?
both are off spinners, aren't they? But
Yeah,
one
but
of them
this
can
is
actually bat at the top of the order as well.
Yes.
And he batted at the top of the order, I think, one of the Asia Cups, and he got hundreds and all that. That guy should be batting at the top of the order, man.
Yeah, so this is the guy who's the less famous one. So the other one is Mahdi Hassan Miraz.
Correct.
So this is the less famous version. But yeah, I think they've got a nice little a group in there. They've got a couple of bowlers who can bat a little bit or hit a little bit as well. I don't see them doing any huge damage. But I think for me, the best thing they could do now is play these younger players, but also just say to them, this is the time to score fast. You've been doing it for the last year and a half. Let's see if you can keep doing it. Let's see if you can keep that going, because they're just not going to beat many sides if they're not starting to make par and above par scores, right? Their bowling is good, but it is not so dynamic that they're suddenly going to, kill everyone with that. We've talked about Sri Lanka a little bit, but let's find them.
Who do you think from this squad? Who do you think from this squad could make it into the Indian side?
Don't do that. We're doing that at the end. You always go ahead. You always go ahead.
No, I have less time. I got to go to work. Remember?
Oh, work. It's commentary. So here we have the Sri Lanka squad. There's a lot of names here that people are going to know, right?
Govindu Fernando, Kamindu Mendes, Kamil Misara, Dasun Shanaka. Back in the squad, Dasun Shanaka.
You've got what in this? You've got 3 IPL bowlers in Tushara, Patharana, and Tikshana. You got Chimera, who has been an IPL bowler before. Welalage and Hasaranga. So there's another one. Like, it looks like a really good bowling lineup on paper. It's just that we haven't seen them do this before, right? Like, I like the look of this, but I don't know how it works. I think Welalage is probably, and Kaminda Mendes just haven't quite come on as T20 players. Nisanka has become one of the best spin hitters in T20 cricket, and that's a really interesting thing going ahead. We're doing a big feature on him. On paper, this looks fine. It's just that they don't win many cricket games, Robbie.
Yeah. Now, Nuwindu Fernando. Is that Avishka Fernando?
Oh, God. So annoying, isn't it? Vishka Fernando. It's a very good question. No, I don't think it is. Nwindu. Fernando. Oh, now I can't even find his name. What did I say it was? Nuindu. There we go. No, Nuindu Fernando is one of the players I don't know much about. He's a 25-year-old player. Looks like a batter. Yeah, sort of top to middle order player. I can't remember even seeing him in the Sri Lankan Premier League, so I might have missed him. But yeah, the talent isn't an issue again, but I don't see how this is going to come through the way that they want it to. But you never know. Kaminda Mendes might be due a big tournament, and they can get some runs out of Nasanka or Asalanka. Kusal Mendes occasionally goes absolutely nuts, and Kusal Pereira is still Kusal Pereira, right? He's probably one of the big disappointments in T20 cricket when you've seen the way he plays and you just think he should be doing that more often, and it hasn't quite worked out. We've done UAE. Oman. Are you commentating any Oman games?
I may be.
So Oman were a very good side, and then I don't know if you've seen the news about Oman, but they've had all sorts of problems with paying their players, and they had players disappear from the squad and everything else. So they've really struggled quite a bit to be able to keep their side going and playing as good as they can. And of course, have we missed Pakistan? Where's Pakistan? There we go. Pakistan. As you said before, who was it that you were talking about? Siam Ayub. You were talking about.
Siam Ayub.
Yep. They've got Mohammed Harris, who he came from nowhere. Didn't he play like 5 games in his career and played in the T20 World Cup in Australia all those years ago?
And Mohammed Harris, you're stuck. He's stuck, isn't he, Rakshit?
I feel like I'm not stuck. Can you not see me?
Yeah, now I can see you now. You're back. We're back. So I think Mohammed Harris, is one of those guys, again, he's stuck in the middle order but he's a top order player, right? Yeah. Again, it's a problem of a plenty. All of these guys are opening batters. Harris is an opening batter. Siam Ayub is an opening batter. I think Salman Ali Aga is basically a middle order. Again, top order batter, but batting in the middle order as a finisher.
Fakhar
Zaman, again, 3-4 he bats at.
Yep.
So it's just, again, you've got 6 openers or top order batters in your top 7. How you're putting people in unfamiliar positions to perform unfamiliar roles in a top tournament. You got to give them that time to settle in there and become those players.
Have you been following Mohammad Nawaz of recent times, by the way?
No.
Do you remember Mohammad Nawaz?
I probably do, but
the MCG T20 World Cup game where he had to bowl the last over to Virat Kohli and Ashwin.
Oh yeah, of course I do. Yeah, the left arm spinner. Yeah.
Remember, he was bowling medium pace at the end of that game, right? Yeah. So he has come back. So I think they played about 46 international games where he played like 5 of them. So he wasn't even really a fringe player, but he occasionally came in for a series or 2, right? And they've just brought him back. And I always thought the big problem with Mohammad Nawaz is he's one of those people in T20 cricket where you think he's an all-rounder, but you're like, but what's his main skill? Like, he's not, he can't really bat all that well, and he's not a frontline bowler. He's come back, Robbie, and he's bowling incredibly. He's been taking wickets everywhere, and he started to make some more runs. So he's a player who, I don't know how old he would be now, but he's not a young guy, I don't think. But he's a player who I think has just matured of recent times and has become a much better cricketer. And he's, Shadab Khan and Imad Wasim were in the side ahead of him. And now that he's been given a full go at it, he's really started to play some good cricket. So it'd be interesting to see how he does in this tournament. I think I think his problem with his batting is he doesn't have a lot of power, but he can manipulate the ball quite a bit. But certainly his bowling could be an interesting one in this one. But now, let's get back to your question before, right? And I think this is really interesting. This is the Indian side, right? So I would say the weakest player in this side is probably someone like Harshit Rana, right? As if he's probably the most fringe level player in this side. Other than that, there aren't many weaknesses in this side. We both agree?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I would
let's
say
go.
Shivam Dubé is fielding, but otherwise we're fine.
Shivam Dube's feet. Shivam Dube's feet.
Yeah.
No one's ever had more. I don't think I've ever seen a batter with more concrete in their feet than him. I absolutely love it. It's awesome. But geez, it's a
Yeah.
different way of batting. So let's go through all the different teams here. Obviously, there is no player from Hong Kong that is going to get into
No.
the Indian side. Okay. There's no player from Oman. There's no player from the UAE.
UAE, maybe Mohammad Wasim could be an option as a backup player. I think he's really good, man.
What is it? But okay, so the backup player in that the backup batter, as we understand it at the moment, is Sanju Samson.
Mm.
Mohammad Wasim isn't getting in ahead of Sanju Samson, is he?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's, but good call. Very good call on that. Sri Lanka. A fully fit Partharana gets into that Indian squad,
Yeah.
right? God, could you
I
imagine
would
him
say-
and Bumrah in the same side, by the way?
Yeah. I would say Chamika Karuna Ratne. India has a fascination for fast bowling all-rounders. And Chamika is quite the character.
I think there's a better all-rounder coming later that we can bring in there. Hasaranga is the only other one I was interested in, but he doesn't make enough runs to get into that side. So
Not all-rounder,
maybe
maybe spinner.
if he was hitting the ball the way he should hit the ball, but we've almost never seen him do it, you'd have him ahead of Yadav, perhaps if he was averaging
Maybe.
20 with the bat, but he's not, so he doesn't get it.
Kuldeep? No, I wouldn't play him in front of Kuldeep.
No, that's what I'm saying. But if I'm saying in a world where he's averaging 20 with the bat and a strike rate 135 and bowling like Hasaranga does, you might pick him ahead of Kuldeep. But if he's not hitting, which he hasn't been for ages, you pick Kuldeep 10 times out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Pakistan squad?
You're not getting a yes from me.
Oh, it's
Go
crazy. but this isn't. There's just no one here that you would pick in this squad that would go into a full informed Shaheen Afridi. Absolutely no issue would go into that Indians squad without any problem. This Shaheen Afridi, it's not even close, right? It's not even close, and there's no one else here that I think is a realistic version to go in ahead of. Like Sanju Samson is better than all the batters I think listed here at the moment.
Easy.
Right. Okay. I'm only saying that because we think he's out of the side at the moment. Bangladesh?
You think?
Yeah, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, maybe not. I'm quite.
Well, if he's not the backup batter, let's just go back to the Indian squad for a minute. If he's not the backup batter in the squad, is Shubman Gill the backup batter in the squad?
Listen, if you asked me this question before this team was announced, I would have said yes.
Anyway,
To that particular question, I would have said yes.
Bangladesh,
No.
there's no player here that's getting
Except
into.
Taskin Ahmad. Like, I think he's been highly impressive over the last couple of
Would
years.
you have right now, if you had to pick your next game, would you pick him ahead of Harshit Rana?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's fair. I thought that I could make that argument as well. I think.
Yeah.
I think if you had Tuscan Ahmed as your backup seamer in that Indian squad, you'd just feel so great at it's so complete. So I'm not completely against
He's one of
that.
those guys you'd be like, I want to find a way to fit him in.
Yeah. Now, they don't need Noor Ahmed, and Rashid Khan's not in current form. So neither of those two are probably going to get into this side because they already have replacements in India. The two seamers I'm a bit more interested in here, Robbie. Naveen and Fazal Haq. I think I would have both of those ahead of Harshit Rana at the moment if I was picking a game tomorrow. But the other player I find quite interesting in this is Omazai.
Yeah,
Right. Now,
like
maybe you don't, as you said before, so when you're talking about the seam bowling all-rounders, maybe you don't need Omazai as much because you have Hardik. But I think if you were picking a squad, you might put both, if you had both of them available, you might pick both of them anyway.
And to be very honest, more than Omar Zai, for me, I would actually use Kareem Jannat. Because Kareem is more, I'll tell you why.
Kareem Jannat is not playing in the Indian squad.
I'm talking about as a backup option for a Hardik Pandya, right? A fast bowling all-rounder who's playing the finishing death role, right? Like he's playing a finisher's role. Now, will you give Omar Zai a chance with the bat, or would you give Kareem Jannat a chance with the bat at the death?
At the death, that's actually a very good point. I mean, Kareem Jannat for me has just been a disappointment because I think you and I both know how talented he is, but he's never really done much. I think he's got something ridiculous, like he averages 50 in first-class cricket with the bat. I worry a bit more about his bowling at the top level of international cricket. I think he's more of a low-level franchise bowler. I think you still go with Omazai because with Omazai, you can bowl Omazai at any time in the first 14 overs of the game, and if the ball's swinging, you've got an extra swing bowler, and he's still a powerful guy. But you're right, he probably doesn't finish the innings as much. But it does tell you a lot about how much Asian cricket has changed. That the team that we found the most players from is Afghanistan, and it's not Sri Lanka or Pakistan, right? Like that is. And we're not talking. We're talking purely on talent here as much as anything, individual players. So I find that fascinating as a way of going.
It's also the power of franchise cricketer.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Cheyenne on one of our podcasts was saying that if you picked a second 11 of Indian players, they would probably be the second favorite in this tournament as well. You might have Afghanistan or Sri Lanka or Pakistan slightly ahead of them, but the second 11 of Indian team would be pretty close to winning this tournament as well, which I think tells you that the depth is extraordinary. I think fast bowling might cause some issues in T20 cricket if you were to go further down. But there's certainly enough batting and spin bowling depth if you wanted to go in different directions within this. There's some very good players like Sai Kishore, who would be starting in a lot of these other sides, right? So there's some interesting ones there, but it illustrates the original thing of just how talented this Indian squad is compared to everyone else. Should we do some super chats, Robbie?
Yes, I have 4 minutes for super chats, then I got to run.
4 minutes. Cricket Info folks were talking about how playing multiple format. Oh no, that's last week's. Do we have any from this week? God, now you put me under a time pressure. So says, a few years ago, 160 was the strike rate of the best T20 strikers. Today it's 200. Is there a practical cap on how quickly a batter can score? What's the end game? So there is a theoretical limit that me and Freddie Wild have been talking about for years, which is how quick people score off free hits, which I think the strike rate of free hits at the moment is somewhere around 220 to 240. It's very hard for people to score quicker than that overall. And so if you look at your top hitters, you'd be looking at about 240 to 260. I don't know if we can go much quicker than that unless we bring in substitutions. And then things change quite a bit.
Agreed. Yeah.
Oh my God. Bata says, why Australia is not producing non-traditional spinners like Vernal Krunels of the world, who are not real spinners, but throwing balls at difficult trajectory for batters? Why they only have traditional spinners? It's because bowling with a low arm action doesn't actually help you all that much in Australia. Yeah, because the ball bounces a little bit more. So it actually, in Australia, the best thing you can have is overspin, which is more a traditional spin. So it'd be interesting to see how Varun Chakravarti would go in Australia with all of his overspinning deliveries now. But traditionally, in Australia, you want to drop the ball and then bounce the ball. And so the guys who flick the ball out the sides of their hands or bowl with lower arm actions just skid onto the middle of the bat.
Yeah. Good call.
Ashutosh says, hey, Robbie, as international teams don't have equal level of first-class structure, which skill set player will get franchise league easily, bowler or batter?
All-rounder. All-rounder and opening batters.
How much does that change, though, when for all-rounders, when substitutes become more common in T20 cricket?
I don't know if we'll get there, to be very honest. I think the only place where substitutions are real right now is the IPL, right?
No, right now, but don't you think everyone's going to follow that kind of style? I think they will.
It's been, what, 3 years now since they've started substitutions? 3-4 years now? Nobody else has moved that needle.
Big Bash had it beforehand, didn't they? They had their, whatever their one was.
They tried it out for a season. They thought it was absolute shite, and then they stopped it. It works in Indian cricket to make it more entertaining, but I think it takes away from the game a little bit, right? The game becomes more, it becomes too variable, right?
You're talking to the wrong person. I would have 25 team squads that you can pick any of the 25 players for any delivery.
Yeah, just adds more for you to talk about post the game. So, you do that anyway.
That's all I want.
But I think as far as, I think we'd all love it. I think as analysts, we'd all love it. And there's a lot more to talk about. But I think just the game itself, for a viewer, becomes a lot more complex to wrap their heads around. It's a complex game as it is, You don't want to
Let's
make it
make it.
more complex.
You say that.
Yeah,
Let's
you
make
don't
it
make
more
it more
complex.
complex.
Ashutosh again says, as the Leap Trophy was not telecast, even on YouTube, I didn't know that, and local T20 leagues getting telecast, does this affect first-class cricketers who don't get exposure and are not getting selected for franchise deals? That's a very good question.
Well, I think it does to a certain degree, and I think you want these games to be, out there. But again, I think there's a lot more for the administrators to lose than to gain in a situation like this, because it brings up a lot more conversations about first class cricketers and how they don't get enough, and they've been catching a lot of flack for that for the last couple of years, where domestic cricket performers who've done really well are not really getting a big run in
But
at least the A levels, right? At the India A levels at least, or for example, Abhimanyu Easwaran's been a part of that test squad for so long and not gotten a look in.
the backup.
Sarfaraz Khan, for that matter, right now. The likes of, as in I shouldn't be saying it because I'm mentoring him, but N. Jagadisan, who's been performing really well.
I've heard he's the best cricketer in the world, only from you.
I've never said that even once.
But just
the likes of that,
yeah, they're not getting
the
not
likes of
getting
that, not getting that time under their sun, right? As in obviously will affect them, but I think the strong ones actually just keep stacking up performance one behind the other, and they know that their time will come. Right?
It is weird
and
though.
if you're
that,
really good enough, it does.
like I play club cricket in the UK, and a lot of those games are telecast now. It's weird that the Jalip Trophy is not telecast, right? Like it's so easy, and I it's changed cricket around club cricket around the world, right? This ability to be able to stream
I'll
your
tell you
games
what.
and everything else.
I'll tell you what, BCCI are making so much money from mainstream cricket right now that they are not looking at what opportunities lie one rung below.
Yeah.
And I think if they do, like right now, they've made it compulsory for every state to have its own T20 franchise league, right? That can literally, they can legitimize that, and they've legitimized that already, but they can funnel that into a tier 2 IPL, right? Which can, like Division 2 IPL, and get all the franchises to have stakes based on which part of the country they're from, add 2 or 3 more teams, and they can actually make, like, they can obliterate, like, world cricket as far as, competitions concerned in any way, shape, or form. Funnels, and so it can become literally a funnel system, become the top league, already the top league in the world as far as cricket is concerned, but they can really take over that whole ecosystem and become the pioneer of leading what cricket's going to be like over the next 20 years, over the next 30 years,
And they can
or the
broadcast.
next 50 years for that matter.
No. I mean, you and I both know there is so much untapped potential still within Indian cricket.
Even broadcasting,
Everything.
we've been talking about how there can be alternate broadcastings, right? Other than traditional formats that exist right now, right? We can do so many different things. Like we've been talking about.
If you're an investor and you want to get in touch with me or Robbie, please leave a message.
There's the ideas that we have that can actually be an alternate platform for just cricket, just for the cricket aficionados, the cricket fans, the casual cricket fans, the traditional cricket fans. What we can actually do with this stuff is just mind-boggling, and we've been like actively saying, guys who are willing to pivot, just reach out to us, because we have so many ideas, because there's something that can just become a vertical on its own. That's completely different from traditional sports viewing or traditional sports consumptions for the fans.
No, I mean, we just saw what happened with the Women's World Cup as well. Like, just organizing things better, right? So that fans are put at the center of all these things. Finally, KP, not the KP, or it could be the KP, says Pakistan batting is pathetic. There is one man who would have won them in these conditions, which is Babar. Without them, they would lose to one of UAE, Oman, or India. I like UAE, Oman, and India. Look, Babar is not here because he hasn't developed with the times. I probably do a piece on him during this Asia Cup. He actually went backwards with his strike rate, Robbie. Like, it wasn't even that he plateaued.
You don't have to tell me, bro. As in, I know this. This is a pure Babar Azam fan, right?
Which is fine. We love Babar. We're pro Babar here, but he shouldn't be in the squad.
Yeah, he's not, like, with all due respect to Babar, the batter, I don't think his T20 game has evolved today to where it needs to be in world cricket for the kind of caliber of batter that he is. He needs to go back to the drawing board and do a lot of work and develop his game, his T20 game, or his batsmanship in T20, and come up with other solutions that serve him and serve his team as well. Right now, it's not there.
It is
You might
not
as well
there.
give the youngsters a chance. And
Yeah,
same with Rizwan as well. It's the same story with Rizwan as well.
yeah,
Like,
both of them
they'll
are stuck.
maintain a healthy 130 strike rate, 125, 130 strike rate. Doesn't cut it for where world cricket is at the moment.
If
They want Pakistan to be competitive.
if they want them to win World Cups, if I have to watch those two knock ordinary off spinners into the leg side for a single anymore in T20
Twos.
cricket,
Yeah.
no, sometimes they go for twos, but they just knock the ball, and you're just like you have so much time. You can hit it anywhere you want on the field. Why are you choosing this option again and again?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that is it for KimAppa. We'll be back next week with actual Asia Cup cricket. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, do all those things, and yeah, we'll be around. We're always around. We're always somewhere.
Yeah.
He'll be commentating, and I'll be doing something as well.
I'll still